Everyone has heard the horror stories regarding the current state of the taxi industry. Taxi drivers took satisfaction in being able to give their families a reliable source of income and to transport people when they were unable to do it themselves. In the past, this was a very popular, unionized, and licensed profession. People were unable to drive themselves to their destination for a variety of reasons. For example, they might not have had a car or be incapable of operating one for other reasons. Taxi drivers had the opportunity to interact with people from all walks of life and engage in global debates. Taxi drivers needed to know the cities they were traveling through, be prepared to assist with luggage lifting, and be open to a variety of obstacles. Welcome to USA Stories channel. Do not forget to subscribe and activate the bell button to receive all new updates. Now let's go to the story. The initial taxi industry began to decline with the emergence of services such as Uber and Lyft. Passengers can order rapid service from Uber and Lyft without having to speak with a person. There is no need for them to contact a number, and both Uber and Lyft allow users to choose a quiet trip, meaning that there is no conversation between the drivers and passengers. The typical taxi driver who used to talk about everything and everything is becoming out of style because the younger generation appears to appreciate that quite a bit. This is a global phenomenon that is also occurring in Houston, Texas. In addition to worrying about getting their clients home safely, taxi drivers had to deal with a hurricane that was making landfall. They were already having difficulty finding customers. When Hurricane Harvey started to approach the neighborhood, William Brusso was one of these cab drivers attempting to make sure he was safe and that any other passengers needed to get home. William had several years of experience driving taxis. He found driving and being social to be the ideal combination, and he enjoyed his work quite a bit in both areas. Driving had always been William's passion. He was ecstatic to be driving when he first acquired his license as a youngster. He was a happy driver who could maintain his eyes on the road and enjoyed chatting with his passengers. When his friends and family needed a ride, he would offer to drive them, and he would only take a grin in return. William believed driving a taxi was great when he first started. He could pursue both of his interests and earn a respectable income. Because he liked his job so much, he was notorious for working long shifts without feeling like he was working at all. He was certain he would return home safely when Hurricane Harvey made landfall, but he wanted to remain outside a little while longer to check on any passengers who might need assistance. He bided his time till his dispatcher called to let him know that someone needed a ride. In contrast to Uber or Lyft, passengers had to phone dispatch in order to schedule a ride. Afterwards, dispatch would contact the drivers. After collecting a few fares, he began to prowl the streets as the sky grew darker, asking passers-by if they needed a lift. Drivers were allowed to head back home if they did not feel comfortable, according to a televised message from dispatch stating that the storm was getting worse in some parts of town. The rain had eased off a little, so William made the decision to park and get some fresh air. Even though he loved to drive, he occasionally needed to take a break. During this period, a miracle took place. He took a short stroll and concluded that he was not going to pick up any more fares. It wasn't as though Hurricane Harvey was a surprise. Residents were aware of the risk for several days due to weather reports and news reports, and they had avoided leaving their homes until absolutely necessary. He returned to his cab and was going to give his family a call when he became aware that someone was riding with him. It wasn't, however, a human passenger. There was a hawk seated in the seat. When William walked outside to stretch his legs, he realized he had left the door open. There was nobody around, so he hadn't given closing the door any thought. But the hawk had obviously recognized an opening. William was unsure of what to do at first. He was not very experienced with non-human passengers, nor had he dealt with wildlife. There was a wild animal inside his automobile, and he had no idea what to do. He tried to mentally pull up his knowledge of hawks. He was aware that they would frequently circle and swoop down to get food, and that little rodents would frequently hide from them. He was unaware of their potential risk to people. He moved in closer to get a better look at the animal. That's when he noticed the poor bird appeared terrified and was shaking. William came to the conclusion that, like him, the hawk was probably just trying to find somewhere to hide from the approaching storm. He understood that animals were far more adept than humans at detecting changes in the weather. William then took out his phone and began recording, like any sane person would do. He believed the video would just be great material for his friends and family, and he had no idea it would become viral. This was, after all, not an everyday occurrence for him. The entire minute of film was shown. The bird gave him a glance as he approached, and William grinned. Trying to reassure his newfound passenger that he meant no harm, he tried speaking softly. The bird did not leave the automobile, even though it appeared to be relaxing. The video received a resoundingly positive response from viewers who praised William for his efforts and called the hawk lovely. William received calls from numerous news organizations and proponents of animal rights after the video concluded, but as he set down his phone and attempted to figure out what to do with his feathered passenger, he maintained he wasn't thinking about any of that. He sent messages to some friends who had greater experience with animals, asking for their opinions. They advised him to remove the bird from the car carefully because it was wild and seemed unharmed despite being obviously scared. William, however, was aware of an impending catastrophic storm and did not want to let the poor creature back into the wild. He then climbed into the car and headed home. The hawk seems to understand William wasn't attempting to hurt it and sat quietly despite the strange encounter. The bird was, William later remarked, the most courteous passenger he had ever experienced. William started making updates videos to record the bird's stay at his place. He looked after the bird during his visit, giving him the nickname Hurricane Hawk or Sergeant Harvey. Sergeant Harvey welcomed William's offer of water and chicken hearts with gratitude in his updates. In one of his movies, William remarked, "I don't know, maybe it's the air pressure. He is merely terrified." William made it plain that he was welcome to remain for however long he pleased with his new acquaintance. He also requested assistance in locating the bird a more permanent home. A couple others recommended the Texas Wildlife Rehabilitation Center in case the animal had a problem. It appeared well, but there can be undiagnosed problems. In one of his films, the 45-year-old taxi driver grinned and stated, "We're having a hurricane party." As the wind picked up, they did, in fact, weather the storm together. William did not regret tending to the hawk through the night, especially after witnessing the devastation caused by the hurricane the following morning. As soon as the rehabilitation facility opened, he contacted and they assured him that he had made the correct decision. And as soon as they could, they arrived to get the bird. William missed his new companion, even though he knew the creature was better off with them. Nobody else in the vicinity was hosting a hurricane celebration like theirs. William felt incredibly fortunate to have avoided his street throughout the hurricane, and he noticed this in the morning. They informed him that the bird would not have survived the storm if he had not been picked up because of an injury that prevented him from flying. William knew then and there that he had made the correct decision. Even though he was aware that the animal might have attacked him or damaged his vehicle, he instinctively knew that none of those things would occur from the look in Sergeant Harvey's eyes. Though William was hiding an injury that would have killed him in the wild, he knew Sergeant Harvey recognized that William was going to help him. William frequently pays Sergeant Harvey a visit, despite the fact that he now resides at the treatment facility. Sergeant Harvey immediately recognizes his rescuer upon his arrival at the bars, and the two appear to share a unique bond. He may be fed by hand by William, and he is never attacked or pecked by Sergeant Harvey. Sergeant Harvey's choice of William's taxi that day was just coincidental. He now has a brand new existence at the Wildlife Center. William responds emphatically that he would do it again in the same circumstance. Although he had never considered himself to be an animal lover, he now always looks out for animals that might be in need of his assistance. Do you have a remarkable animal rescue tale to share? Maybe it happened to you. Maybe it happened to one of your friends. Please share it below if you do. We're constantly seeking for motivational tales, and you never know when yours might be the one we feature next. Please remember to subscribe to our channel, give us a thumbs up, and turn on the notification bell so you won't miss any of our videos. If you enjoyed the tale, the next video that plays on your screen will probably move you too.